You know, I'm in the advertising industry, and we here in the advertising industry get very bored. My boss gets especially bored. He's this guy, you know, he basically pays people to do terrible things and watches them to do it because he's so bored with his life. And eating habanero peppers for him was one of the few things I am able to do in order to keep my job here. So I'm very happy to be able to do that because I feel advertising is truly a much better outlet than music. Because, you know, I like to write songs. But really, if you want to control the way that people think, advertising is the way to go. And it's really the best way to change the world. Because we can see now, everyone is able to learn so many things from advertising, such as, you know, beer will all of a sudden make women in bikinis come into your presence. I don't know how it works so well, but it really does. And if you don't believe me, just watch the commercials, because it's right there. And then the other thing that's great about advertising is that there's no habanero peppers in it. So if you saw a guy eating habanero peppers every time on the commercials, then when you saw me eat a habanero pepper and barely even flinch, it wouldn't be so impressive. So if you still don't think it's impressive, go get a habanero pepper and eat it. I challenge you.
Featherbeard, if you had to mate with an animal, which would it be and why?
Oh, most certainly a werewolf. Mostly because he's the guy who pours the Coca-Cola on my head in the marble statue. And I think that he's also just, he's just a nice guy. He's very misunderstood. You know, his bloodlust and all this stuff, not so great. But I guess if there were a man, if it were a werewolf, male werewolf, I wouldn't be able to mate with him, because mating means that you can procreate. So if I had to choose a female animal, it would probably be, that's a good question. Very difficult one. Does it have to be alive?
No.
Well, I'd want an alive female animal. I think other than a werewolf, because the thing with the werewolf too is that the werewolf would take me against my will, so I would never willfully mate with a werewolf. And so that's the only reason I would mate with a werewolf, because otherwise I do not condone bestiality. And I plan one day running for political office, and I've found that all of the politicians who have condoned bestiality in the past, they've always lost in very preliminary elections. So therefore I do not condone bestiality unless it is against my will. And in that case, unwillfully doing so, I do not condone it, but I would have no choice.
And Featherbeard, if you had to pick between north, east, south, or west, which would it be best?
Well, if I'm in the north, I would have to say south. If I'm in the south, I'd have to say north. I gravitate towards the equator as if it were a great magnet and I were a great piece of metal. A great piece of metal I someday shall be.
And Featherbeard, that is the end of all of our questions. Is there anything else you'd like to add to this that you would like to share with us before we end this interview?
Yes, I would like to ask why you haven't asked about my children.
Oh, yes. Do you have any children, Featherbeard?
This is my child. His name is Baby Featherbeard. I'm a man, and I'm also an artist, and so usually for non-artists, only women can have babies. But luckily, since I'm an artist, I can also have babies. And this baby has been clean since his birth. His name is Baby Featherbeard. he was a butt baby